The Mets gave their manager Buck Showalter quite a birthday present on Monday, and the way they've been playing, with all the adversity they've been facing, the Mets may be celebrating not just on Buck's birthday in May, but maybe all the way into October. This is Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. If you can tell by my lower third right there, if you're watching on the YouTubes, you can please call me Sully. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. So we're available on all your free podcasting catchers. Hey, this one's being dropped on the 24th day of May, 2022. We are inching closer and closer and closer to Memorial Day, which is, according to your pal Sully, the first real checkpoint where you can take a look at your team and say, all right, what the heck are we? What the heck are we? Well, I can tell you, the New York Mets, they're a contender. And do you know who's also a contender? The Minnesota Twins. We'll talk a little bit about those two teams today, as well as sort of recapping a little bit of what's going on in baseball on Monday. Hey, you can follow us at Locked On MLB Pod, same handle for Instagram, on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Quick little peek around the league. You didn't have a full schedule on Monday, but you did have a bunch of games being played. In fact, as I'm recording this, there's one game still going on, San Diego and Milwaukee. Is that going to be a postseason preview? Possibly. I wouldn't mind that. I think that'd be a pretty fun matchup. They're actually right now tied at 2 in the 10th inning, so we're going to see what happens there. Around the league, the Pirates doubled up the Rockies 2-1. Cubs held on. They scored a bunch of runs early and then held on to a 7-4 victory. Tyler Anderson of the Cubs over the Reds. Tyler Anderson had a perfect game going into the 6th. He wound up giving the Dodgers 10 shutout innings. Why not let him pitch the 9th? Seriously, what's the adverse? I mean, he pitched 8. Give him one more. I know that they gave who was the reliever? The Dodgers gave one of the relievers an inning of work, and I get that. You want to get, sometimes you want to get your pitchers in there. Who was it? It was Bickford. They put Bickford in there, but come on, give Anderson a chance to have a complete game shutout. But anyway, he pitched 8 innings, struck out 8, walked none. Mookie Betts got on base 3 times, including a double. Freddie Freeman doubled a couple of times. Taylor got a triple. The Dodgers just mashed the Washington Nationals 10-1. The Dodgers are now 28-13, and the Nationals are almost the reverse. They're 14-29. Man, the 2019 World Series seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Hey, the Baltimore Orioles, and it was a little bit of a back and forth game. Now, remember, over the weekend, the Yankees lost a doubleheader to the White Sox, where they scored a grand total of over 2 games. They were shut out in the nightcap. They scored 1 run in the first game. So in 18 innings, they scored 1 run, and that 1 run was on a home run by Aaron Judge. Well, today, the Yankees lost by a score of 6-4 to the Baltimore Orioles. And the Yankees scored 4 runs, and 3 of them were driven in by Judge on home runs. Can you imagine what the Yankees would be if it wasn't for Judge's bat? By the way, Judge right now has 17 home runs. It's not even June. His OPS is 1.113. He is the MVP, not just for his great stats, but the fact that he's carrying this Yankee team right now. Urias hit a go-ahead home run in the 6th inning off of Cole, who had a very strange line. 8 innings, 11 strikeouts. Wow. No walks, an 11 strikeout to no walk ratio. He also let up 5 runs. It was a very strange game for Cole, who, gave him some innings, 8 some innings, but the Yankees could not pull the trigger against the Baltimore Orioles. The Yankees are still in first place. The defending world champion Atlanta Braves lost again. Wheeler pitched well, and the Phillies, who are trying to climb back to that 500 mark. They're 200, 500 right now. They're 7-3. Difficult team to figure out. Not a difficult team to figure out are the St. Louis Cardinals, who are off to a good, solid start. And they won in the 10th inning with a walk-off grand slam by Paul Goldschmidt. So the Cardinals defeated the Blue Jays in the Battle of the Birds. Hey, the Guardians are inching closer to 500. They beat up the Astros 6-1 today. McKenzie pitched well. The Diamondbacks and the Royals had a back-and-forth slugfest. Zach Greinke did not pitch well for Kansas City. I don't know. I believe this is Greinke's last year. He let up 7 runs in 3 2/3 innings. Smith and Walker both homered for Arizona. The Arizona's pitching wasn't much better. They had a parade of relievers coming in, and the D-backs held on. And the D-backs right now are at even 500. So Millard Thomas, they win tomorrow, your Diamondbacks have a winning record, which is more than the Red Sox can say. But good news, Red Sox fans, they didn't play. Actually, the Red Sox are on a big winning streak right now, so I shouldn't get on about that. The Mariners, who got swept by the Red Sox, ran up a decent lead and then almost coughed it all the way up. But Seawald held on, and the Mariners wound up defeating the A's 7-6 in a game that probably should not have been the nail-biter that it was. France having a wonderful season. He doubled. Julio Rodriguez hit his first home run in Seattle, 4th overall, playing great defense as well. He went 2 for 4 with 3 runs batted in. Marco Gonzalez didn't necessarily pitch well at all. Here's the I'm going to talk about we need to get rid of the win stat. Gonzalez didn't get into the 6th. He let up 5 runs. He gets the win. What does the win stat tell us? Doesn't tell us a dang thing. But for Mariner fans, they're happy with it because that losing streak is now over. So that bounced around the league there. There's 2 other games there, which I'm going to talk a little bit in our next segment there. But first and foremost, I want to ask you to go to BetOnline. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's NBA playoffs. Go Celtics. Major League Baseball, the Stanley Cup Finals. Go Edmonton Oilers. Fights, even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. And while I'm here, I just want to say thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Have your second listen be Locked On Now. Recaps of baseball games with analysis from our local experts taking fans through the season like no other network. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I mentioned it was Buck Showalter's birthday. And no better way to have a birthday, I think, than to absolutely slug the opponent. And the Mets, according to an article by Mark Puma from the Post, gave a surprise birthday celebration to Showalter, including setting up a piñata in the batting cage. If you want to see what that looked like, watch the San Francisco Giants pitching going against the Mets. The final score was 13-3, or as my mom would say, a lot to not enough. And it got to the point where the Giants had to use Luis Gonzalez, an outfielder, to pitch. It was Showalter's 66th birthday, and it was just an absolute slugfest that the Mets, Pete Alonso stayed hot. He went 3 for 5 with a 3-run home run. Mark Canha homer. Jeff O'Neill homered. They got 18 hits. They went 7 for 14 with runners in scoring position. And think about that. There were 14 instances where there were runners in scoring position, and in half of those situations, the Mets got a hit. And David Peterson, give him credit. He stepped into the rotation, was solid for 6 innings. He let up a pair of runs and 3 hits over 6 innings. And right now, the Mets are a season high 14 games above 500. They are 29-15. They are on an absolute roll. And Pete Alonso right now is putting together a serious all-star season. His OPS is creeping up to 900. He has 40 runs batted in. If you like that, he leads the National League in that. And he's tied for the most home runs in the National League with 11. And with that, the Mets are, as I said, they're pushing ahead. They're pushing ahead in the division lead. And here's where, if you're a member of the other teams in the National League East, where it's a little bit scary, where the Mets have pushed, I believe it's what is it? I think their current lead is 9 games over the defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves. As of this recording, and it's 10:27 in the PM. I'm sorry, 9:27 in the PM. The Mets have an 8-game lead over the Philadelphia Phillies, a 9-game lead over the Braves and the Marlins, and a 14.5 game lead over the Washington Nationals, and would have are tied with San Diego. By the way, San Diego would have the lead wild card spot. So the Mets are in a position right now where they are pushing ahead. They're the only team in the division above 500. Now, they were in that situation last year. I have more faith in Showalter with the helm. But here's the deal that it makes this very interesting. The Mets are on this roll. They're hitting. They're getting the hits when they need them. They're getting the pitching performances when they need them. And yet, who's on the disabled list right now? Scherzer's on the disabled list. Tyler McGill, who started the no-hitter and has been terrific. Well, I mean, he's been solid, is on the disabled list. And obviously, they haven't seen Jacob deGrom pitch a single game this entire year. And Sean Reed-Foley and Trevor May, 2 players who they thought were going to be contributors to the bullpen, are on the disabled list right now. Scherzer and deGrom were the key to this team. Scherzer and deGrom that was the recipe. That was going to be their Schilling and Johnson to lead them to the promised land. And they're both on the disabled list. Now, Scherzer went on the disabled list on the 19th of May. When he was taken out of that game against St. Louis in the 6th inning. That was on the 18th day of May. And the 18th day of May, Met fans gave a collective gulp that they didn't have deGrom, they didn't have Scherzer. And they've played 5 games since then, and they've won 4 of them. They've faced this adversity and have gone on to beat teams like the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals. Teams that are good, teams that are playoff teams. If you told me that they were going to go into a little bit of a gauntlet right now with the last bunch of teams they play, okay, Colorado actually has a decent record so far, but they would lose Scherzer, don't have deGrom, don't have Mr. No-Hitter, and then you'd have to play St. Louis, then head to Coors Field, and then have to play the San Francisco Giants. Now, all the Mets have to do is win either the game on Tuesday against the Giants or on Wednesday against the Giants. Then they've won that series. Just like they won the opening series against the Nationals, they won the next series against the Phillies, the next series against the Diamondbacks, the next series against the Giants, next series against the Diamondbacks, next series against the Cardinals, next series against the Phillies, next series against the Braves, next series against the Phillies. Again, they won the series against the Nats. They lost the series to Seattle, but they won the series against St. Louis, Colorado, and they have to split the next 2 to win the series against the Giants. We are now in late May, and the Mets have lost 1 series. And they're now doing it without the blueprint. I sound like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Aviator. Show me the blueprint. Show me all the blueprints. This is why right now, at the roughly, as we're approaching the 1/3 mark of the season, Buck Showalter is the manager of the year in the National League. And if he can keep the Mets, when you build up this amount of this kind of a lead, you put that in the bank. You have an 8-game lead in the bank, gives you a little bit of wiggle room. This was the time it was supposed to wiggle, not build upon it. If they can survive this gauntlet and still keep a week of games between themselves and the nearest contender, then guess what? This is a very special year for the New York Metropolitans. It's also looked like it could be a special year. The Mets won the World Series in 1986. The Twins won the World Series in 1987. This looks like it could be a very special year for the Minnesota Twins. They had that wild comeback against the Kansas City Royals where they were down, what? Was it 7-0, 6-0, something crazy like that? Well, then, here we go. A day after that crazy comeback, it was a 7-run comeback in Kansas City. Then today they had another wild game. And it starts with a Max Kepler grand slam. And, they took a 4-0 lead against the Detroit Tigers. Tigers came back to tie the game. And then on a ball where Javier Baez just could not make the play. It was a hit by Gio Urshela, and the Twins won again. And with that, we talk about what's going on with the Mets. The Twins have a 4-game lead over the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox were the team that everybody in their moose picked to win that division. And the Twins are doing so with the key hits, with the timely hits, with the great defense, and with that kind of weird, we don't intend to die attitude. Now, there are some pieces to the team that look vulnerable. Bundy has not done well. Paddock is on the disabled list. They can't necessarily rely on Bailey Ober and Chris Archer and Joe Ryan. They're hoping that Sonny Gray is going to pick up the steam and, to pitch better out of the rotation. But the Twins do need some pitching depth because right now they're getting, you go up and down their lineup doesn't look great. There's no one really having an all-round outstanding year for the whole year, but they're hitting well right now, and they're getting the hits they need. And I almost wouldn't want to mess with the lineup too much. But one thing I would do if I were the Twins, and I'm not, but one thing I would do if I were the Twins is just have the Oakland A's on speed dial all day long. Because they have Frankie Montas. And they have Cole Irvin. They have those two pitchers. And the A's look like, the A's are not going to have a very good year this year. And they're, they have a couple of players who aren't bad. Paul Blackburn has pitched well so far. I mean, he's another one. Blackburn has pitched well, but he's 28 years old. Again, that is not like he's an ancient player, but he's been around for a little bit. This is his 6th season in the major leagues. And maybe, just maybe, some of these players can be available. The way the Twins have been playing recently, it's keeping them with their nose above sea level. When I talk about how Memorial Day is the first real checkpoint, this is what I'm talking about. The Twins can look around and say, hey, we could win this thing. What do we need to do? Now, call the A's every day. When's Blackburn available? When's Montas available? And you have to, even if it costs them 1 or 2 good minor league players. Remember, this is the only year that Correa is going to be here. And sometimes when you only have that superstar for 1 year, you can take advantage of that. Do you know what team took advantage of that? The Twins back in 1991. They had Jack Morris for 1 year, just 1 year. And he got to be the World Series MVP for that Twins team. And then he went to Toronto. But he fulfilled that 1 year. Another player, Ivan Rodriguez, another Hall of Famer. 1 year in Miami. 1 year with the Florida Marlins. But in that 1 year, he was the NLCS MVP and helped the Marlins win the World Series. Off he went to Detroit. Carlos Correa, if he's healthy and plays the whole season, he's going somewhere else other than Minnesota. We all know that they know that everything. So if it means giving up a prospect or two to fill in those pitching holes and then allowing the offense to go, do you know what? You got to pull the trigger. You have to pull the trigger because this is the year you're going for, Minnesota. This is the year that you look up and you say, hey, maybe things are a little bit vulnerable. And you got to do the things that are healthy for this team because this could be the team that kind of fits together. But you fix those holes in the starting rotation and you allow this lineup to get the hits when they need to hit. Who knows? It could be a Mets Twins world. But make those changes. Get that additional depth. If it costs you a little future, this is your present. The American League, as well as the Yankees have been playing and some other teams, is a vulnerable league in the postseason. So go for it. It's the healthy thing to do for this franchise. Kind of like the healthy feeling I get when I use my Athletic Greens. Now, look at Athletic Greens is a terrific partner of the Locked On Network, and I use this product because, do you know what? I'm trying to get better gut health. I'm trying to get more energy, trying to improve my immune system. I'm over 50, okay? My life is 1/3 over. I can't mess around anymore. But you get one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, one, and I'm absorbing 75, count them, 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Look at it's a lifestyle friendly. It doesn't matter if you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free. I don't care. They don't care. It's perfect for it. Tons of people take a kind of a multivitamin, and it's important to choose one that has high quality with ingredients your body will absorb. Athletic Green is small micro habit with big benefits. So one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. Your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is so important to get in these throughout the year. And sometimes you're not getting as much sunlight. We're indoors. Got to get your vitamin D. Okay. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews. It's recommended by professional athletes. It's trusted by leading health experts, and it costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health. It's cheaper than your cold brew habit, okay? So here's what you got to do. It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. 1 scoop of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements or all that stuff. Let's make it easy for you. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Easy for you to say. athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. There's that other event that's happened in baseball. It's controversy. And I've had a couple people tweet at me or text me wanting my take on it. And I'm not even going to say the people's names. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't know all the facts. There was a suspension that was put about. I'm just going to say a few things that I don't think anyone can argue with. Okay. First of all, we all have jokes that we have with people we know, our friends. And for me personally, some of those in-jokes that I have are, you would file under not safe for work. They're in-jokes, they're private. And the whole point of an in-joke, it's an inside joke between two people. There's something that may seem either nonsensical or inappropriate, but because of some context that two people share, it's something that they share that's funny and a private joke between them. When someone has a private joke, it's good to keep it private because there is a context to a private joke that is sometimes too complicated to explain and not worth explaining. It's too long to explain. It's just an in-joke between us. Now, if you're going to have an in-joke with someone, make sure there's consensus. Make sure the other party knows that you have an in-joke, okay? And an in-joke isn't saying something inappropriate or borderline offensive or not borderline, truly offensive to someone, and the person doesn't respond back. That doesn't necessarily mean they approve it, they thought it was funny. Sometimes they're just trying to avoid a fight. Sometimes they just want to just move on and they roll their eyes when you walk away. That's not an in joke. That's just someone putting up with your BS. Okay? Here's another thing. When it comes down to the content of a joke, and by the way, on the topic of the suspension, I don't believe it was a joke in the slightest. But let's just give someone the benefit of the doubt and still point out where he's wrong. Now, you can make a joke about anything. I was a stand-up comic for a long time. I sometimes made jokes that would be called inappropriate. You could make a joke about any topic. But here's the thing. The harder and more potential button pushing or potentially offensive or potentially inappropriate a joke can be, the better the joke has to be. It's almost like a line. If you're going to make a joke about airline food or there being too many Starbucks or too many Marvel movies, those are low stakes. You can make jokes about that, and even a lousy joke you can pass. The more difficult a joke becomes when you start to see someone doing humor that is based upon stuff that isn't necessarily funny on the surface. And there are people who do that. There are people who are great at it. But those are the elite comedic minds. And even some of them, someone like a Dave Chappelle, who's had a career of being a great comic, has missed the mark recently. Ricky Gervais, who's had a great career as a comedian, has missed the mark. That when you try to do humor based upon shock value or button pushing, it's like a pole vault. The higher the bar is, the harder it is to clear. I remember being at the comedy club and I would see some comedians who were great. And sometimes they would I remember Dave Attell going on stage. I loved watching Dave Attell live. And there's a lot of times Dave Attell would do a joke. And you're like, oh my God, is he going there? And he did, and he cleared it. But he's one of the best. He's absolutely one of the best. If you're an athlete, chances are you're not a great comedian. Chances are you were a jock. Jocks didn't have to be comedians. They were jocks. The jocks tended to be either the bullies or the ones who bullied their way to get to what they wanted or use at least their strength to get to where they wanted. So if you're going to make a joke, make sure you clear the hurdle. And also know that, do you know what? Is it worth the joke? Is the topic worth it? If the context has to be explained and explained and explained and explained, then why do it? What's the point? Can you not read the room? Can you not see where we are? And you know what? It doesn't matter what someone else said in an interview or what context they said things in. Sometimes you just got to say, well, it's not really a joke. Say, I said something wrong. Don't hide behind it was a joke and it was humor. Humor's hard. It's tough. It's tough to be funny. And if you're going to try to be funny about something, about a topic that isn't funny, then you got to be one of the best. And besides, if you don't like somebody, there's so many other reasons to dislike someone and to make fun of them without going to an ethnic or racial joke. Come on. It's 2022. Don't be on Ben Chapman's side in a Jackie Robinson situation. And remember, the most important thing of an in-joke is it has to be inside and the other person has to know it exists. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic. But I'm going to be talking about baseball And we're going to be talking a little bit more. Connor Newcomb from Locked On Orioles is going to show up for a later podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about the O's and maybe see, are they starting to push things in the right way? Are they going to win this series against the Yankees? I don't know. Neither do you. But please follow us at Locked On MLB Pod. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the Twins, talking about the Mets, and wondering, could this be their year? One team, well, they're winning the games that I'm sure everyone else thought they were going to lose. And the other one is putting together something special, but they've got to go for it because this is the year it could be lining up. But it's lining up for podcasts all the time. This is Locked On MLB for the 24th day of May, 2022. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.